Today we are attempting to read for 24 hours straight. I don't think I have mentally prepared myself enough for this challenge, and I just got really nervous now that I'm sitting here talking to you guys, actually starting the video and the challenge. We have 3 goals for this challenge. The first one obviously is to read for 24 hours straight. I will not be stopping the timer or deducting for bathroom, eating, stuff like that, but I will not be sleeping. I will be trying to pull an all-nighter, which I have actually don't think I have ever done in my entire life. So it's almost 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and I will be reading hopefully until 2 p.m. tomorrow straight. So my second goal is to read some books on my physical TBR. I have a lot of books on my physical, well, this isn't, I know a lot of books, but for me it's a lot of books. Normally I don't buy a book and leave it on my shelf. I buy a book if I want to read it right away, or I get books from the library like you've seen. So I'm also doing this kind of while I'm in a book slump. I was in a little bit of a book slump before I read the Chestnut Spring series, and the Chestnut Spring series kind of pulled me out of that and those cowboy romances, and then I was in one for a little bit, but then when I read my Emily Henry books for a week, not in a book slump at all, but I am in a little bit of a book slump. So I've only read 3 or 4 books in May, and we're almost 2/3 of the way through the month, which is very rare for me. I normally read sometimes that many books in a week, usually like 3 books a week. I haven't been reading as much, you guys. That is my third goal, is to get out of my book slump. Maybe this will help, maybe it won't. We'll see. I think I am leaning towards getting out of it because the first book I am reading for this video is A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver, and I'm kind of in the middle of it already. I think I'm exactly in the middle of it. So I'm going to be reading A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver. It's gotten good. I want to keep reading. I'm pulled back into it, so I'm hoping this feeling carries on. My slump gets out of the way quickly in this video. We will have to see, because my struggle has been picking my next book that I want to read, and I've been having a really hard time with that. Those are my 3 goals for this video. With those in mind, we're gonna start the timer so we can get reading. Ooh, why am I nervous? One hour down, 23 to go. This is crazy. This is madness. I have not prepared enough mentally for this. Alright, you guys, we are 3 hours into this challenge, and I finished my first book, A Photo Finish. And I have to say, this might be one of my favorite Elsie Silver books out of all the ones I've read. And I think this is the 8th book I read. It's really good. It's in her first series that she ever wrote, which is the Gold Rush Ranch series, and this is actually Violet Eaton's story. She is in the family that the Chestnut Spring series is about. So the Chestnut Spring series is about the Eaton boys, and this is their sister's story. And oh my god, I loved it so much. It took a little bit to get into. I feel like I love it because it's so different than a lot of the other romance books I've read. First of all, how they met. I don't think I've ever read something like that in a book. It was very interesting, but also steamy. is what I'll say. And then I loved the mailman character too, Cole. He is so hard on himself and has been through so much in his life that it all just seeps into his views of himself and ultimately into his relationship with Violet. And we learn something very quite shocking about him over halfway through the book that kind of makes everything make sense of why he acts the way he had up until that point. He thought it was such a big deal and Violet was just like, whatever, you know? I'm not gonna say what it is, but it was, wow, so good. So I read the first one of the Gold Rush Ranch series not that long ago, at the beginning of May. That one was good, but you could tell it was Elsie Silver's first book, and the improvement in just the writing and the characters from that book to this book, so good. I am excited to keep reading this series. The series is more about horse racing than it is about cowboys and ranches and working the land and bull riders. So that was really interesting. And Violet is a horse jockey. So she races horses, and Cole is actually one of the owners of the farm. Him and his brother own the ranch where Violet works. Cole is there after leaving the city to kind of help start up this new company they bought, because they also have another company. I don't know. They're very wealthy. We'll say that. There's a little forced proximity trope. What I love about Elsie Silvers is that we do get both characters' perspectives. So it's not just the female character and it's not just the male character's perspective, but you get both. And it's so interesting to see things from both sides in real time. And I just love that about her books. Oh, I need to say a rating. So I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5 stars. I've been changing my ratings as I sit on the books, but for now we'll go 4.5. I really enjoyed this book. One of my favorites by her. So the next book I am reading is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I have yet to read this book, and Reckless, the second one, comes out this summer. So many people love this book, and Powerful, I believe, a novella, is also out, but I'm excited to read this. I haven't read a fantasy book in a minute. It's been a while, you guys. As I've pondered my book slump and ways to get out of it, I love fantasy series and being connected to characters for multiple books, and while only one book of this is out, I want to get back into a fantasy series. I feel like that'll help with my slump. I'm excited to read this. It is, oh, it's almost 500 pages. Wow, okay. So this will probably take a decent chunk of the night. My brain is still feeling awake. I had my matcha, as you saw, and we're gonna start feeling it here in a few hours, the tiredness. So I want to start this and get into it while my brain is working. I love a good fantasy map. I really do. So I am about 75 pages into Powerless, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's interesting. I like the characters. They already have tension, and the plot seems interesting. In this world, Ilia, there was a plague, and it basically granted powers through genetic mutations to certain people who then became the elites. So the people who didn't get powers were called the ordinary, and were basically, you know. And so our female main character is an ordinary girl who is surviving in this land, and the male main character is the prince, who is the enforcer, and he basically enforces the king's law. He has to the ordinaries and any other lawbreaker, criminal. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like the perfect setting now for it too, because it just got windy and dark and there's lightning, so it's the perfect setting for a good fantasy. I'm excited to see where it goes. There are these, it's called the trials, and I think that part is kind of like the Hunger Games. We haven't gotten too into the details, but I'm gonna keep reading. Still feeling good. I feel more awake than I did earlier, which is interesting. We have 18.5 hours left. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do throughout the night. Normally I go to bed at like 10 at the latest, 10:30, so and it's currently 7:30, so we're gonna give it a few hours, see how I'm feeling. Probably have a coffee. I don't usually have caffeine. The most caffeine I have is matcha because I get really bad anxiety and shaking when I drink too much caffeine, but we might have to do it tonight. Okay, let's keep reading. First cup of coffee. It is 10:21 and I'm yawning so much. I needed a cup of coffee if I'm gonna stay up. Oh, my sleep's gonna be so messed up. I'm in the middle of listening to the Huberman Lab podcast guest series with Dr. Matt Walker, and it's just all about the health of sleep, and they talk about how pulling all-nighters is so bad for your health in so many different ways, but the things I do for you guys. Love ya. Yeah, it's pretty good coffee though, I will say. I do like the taste of coffee. If I had like decaf coffee, I'd probably drink that every morning, to be honest. But it's just the caffeine that I can't deal. I'm up. I don't think I can say that on the YouTube. I'm not as far into this book as I'd want. I'm like 150 pages and it's been a few hours, but I'm just reading slow, and I think it's just because it's been a while since I've read a fantasy. The world isn't super complicated, but it's just very descriptive, so that's fun. And like a lot is going on, but nothing at the same time, kind of. Does that make sense? Probably not, but we're going with it. I think I'm gonna say I want to finish this book by 2 a.m. Hopefully things don't get too delirious. Oh yes. I fell asleep. Hi Thor. And I'm really not mad about it. Hi buddy. But halfway through this book, I'm gonna keep reading. It's 5:50. I want to go back to bed, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna stay awake. We have 8 hours left. I'm like, do I add a couple hours because I fell asleep? We'll see if I feel like reading in 8 hours or if we're just gonna call it quits. Ugh. We have 3.5 hours left and I just finished Powerless. I'm like so tired. How do people talk when they do this? And I know I slept for a few hours, but I am still exhausted. I had another matcha. I'm gonna tell you guys my review of Powerless. I literally don't even remember what I said about the book. I just remember that it took me way longer to finish than I thought it would. A fantasy, it was very descriptive, like I said. I think some of the descriptions were kind of unnecessary. Like it would have flowed a lot smoother and been maybe a quicker read if there was less of that, but I did enjoy it. I sound so monotone, I'm so sorry. Kai is the mailman character and he is basically a trained assassin, and Peyton is the female main character and she is from the slums, but her dad trained her to basically fight, survive. And Peyton is an ordinary, which I think I talked about the genetic mutations already, so we're not going to dive into that again. And Kai is an elite. It sounds like every 5 years they do this thing called the trials, and it kind of reminds me of like a mix of the Hunger Games, the Triwizard Tournament from the Goblet of Fire and Harry Potter, and then the competition from Throne of Glass. Like those are the vibes it kind of gives. It is also very, very heavy on the romance and tension between the two main characters. I do think it really set up the next book really well, so I will be grabbing that. I don't know what I want to rate it. I'm thinking around a 4. It wasn't my favorite fantasy ever, but it was still enjoyable, and I do want to read the next ones, so I'm excited. The next one comes out in July, and yeah, I'm so tired. Okay, so since my brain is dead, I was gonna read The Cool Prince, which is one of the fantasy series. Oh my god. One of the fantasy series I've been wanting to read because, like I said, I don't know if I said this, maybe I didn't. I want to read a fantasy series. Like, I really want to reread Throne of Glass. Well, I want to reread it because of the feeling you get from following characters for so many books. So I was thinking about reading this, but I don't think my brain can handle another fantasy right now. So I'm gonna read How to End a Love Story by Yulin Quang. And all I know about this is the main character is a writer and she's put in Hollywood to do screenplays for her novels. 3.5 hours. I can fly through romances pretty fast. I don't know if I can do it in 3.5 hours, but hopefully get a decent chunk of this book done. 2 hours left. I look so I'm trying so hard not to fall asleep. And I'm 50 pages in to The Cruel Prince you saw. I didn't read the other romance book. Right off the bat, I can tell this writing is better than Powerless. Not that I didn't enjoy the writing, but it just, honestly, Powerless needed more rounds of edits in my opinion. Other than that, I'm enjoying it so far. It's just taking so long to get through. I'm like finding myself dozing off while I'm reading. Ooh. Oh my goodness. The main character, Jude, and her siblings witness both of their parents M-worded by their mom's ex-husband because she ran away from him and he's a fairy. And now they all live in the fairylands and have to deal with being mortals in the fairylands. That's what I've gathered so far in my one brain cell that's left. 2 more hours, you guys, and then I can take a nap. Yay! 24-hour reading challenge is complete. Oh my gosh, I feel like for the past few hours I've just had an out-of-body experience. Unfortunately, we did not achieve some of our goals. The first one being read for the full 24 hours. I fell asleep for a few hours, which is fine. I tried my best. What was the next goal? I'm so delusional and delirious. How do people pull all-nighters? Like, I don't understand. Was it read 3 or 4 books for my physical TBR? Anyways, I read one complete one and about a third of my other one. I really only read like 2 books in this whole 24 hours, but Powerless was kind of long, so. And then my third goal, get out of the reading slump, which honestly, I feel like I am getting out of the reading slump. I haven't read a fantasy book in a long time, like I said, and I feel like I'm getting back into it, and I'm gonna want to read the rest of these, the Cruel Prince trilogy after I finish this, because I'm really enjoying it so far. I like her writing a lot. I've never read a Holly Black book before, and I've been wanting just to connect with characters and follow them for more than one book, you know? So I feel like getting into the series could be fun. So with that being said, thank you for coming along this crazy journey. Will I ever do this again? And not anytime soon. I'm not gonna say never because I'm never one to really back down from a challenge, and since I fell asleep, I know the next time I want to do it, I'll be motivated to stay up the whole time. Maybe in the future there'll be another one of these. Maybe there won't be. I'm not making any promises. But as always, if you've read any of these books, I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions, specifically Powerless, because it seems to be very popular on book social media and the book internet, and I am kind of leaning towards overhyped, but that's just my opinion, so let me know yours. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Oh, I can sleep now.